Good afternoon, every one of you, and welcome to this webinar. Happy to see you all. So let me introduce myself. I'm Chandra Bhanu. I'm the technical trainer mentor working for Globe and various verticals. I've got 23 years of experience in information technology. So I do train a lot of subjects. Like my main passion of training subjects is on with Java technology. So I'm a Java full stack trainer. So I train on various verticals. Like say, I do train on, I go to corporate sector, I go to corporate world. I do train a lot of companies, employees of different companies. So I do train on online and I do campus trainings. So these are my different verticals. So like the main thing that I just do go with is basically on full stack web development, and that too based on Java technologies. And we at Globe, so we do train all the technologies and all the things to cater your needs and requirements that we've just gotten with. So let us have in this webinar, I'm going to give you an insight view of all the things that we have gotten full stack technology, full stack training and full stack development as to what exactly full stack is, because that is what we hear in the IT industry in the recent past. And even the software industry requires you to be a full stack developer. So then what is full stack actually? And how what are the technologies that are included in it, and how does it work for us? So all these things, I'm just going to throw an insight overview for the next coming up 1 hour of time. Well, just do listen carefully, and definitely this webinar would be very useful for you all in order to rather hone your skills and take a right decision of working with full stack web development that we've got with. Well, I'll take all your queries at the end of this particular webinar. So, and whatever the technical queries that you ask me, I'll do feel free to ask me whatever the queries that you want on technicality. And regarding administration point of view, my team will take on the call to answer your queries and all. So let's straight away get into the topic. Let me share my screen. And I guess all of you are able to see my screen. Yes. So yeah, I guess all of you are able to see my screen, and let's just begin with this particular thing. Now, before we start with full stack web development, what does industry mainly focuses? Because I've been training on various corporate world or corporate companies. So I've noticed that these are the areas and that the skills that are needed in the digital era. And you have to rather get any one of these particular things. That's the reason why you call it as ABCDE. You know, A stands for app development, artificial intelligence, automation, AR and VR. That's what you call A. B is where you got called big data and blockchain. C is cloud, one of the most demanded, one of the most very hot today in the IT industry, the IT sector, the cloud, the way of cloud working and cybersecurity and connectivities of 5Gs and SDNs and all the other things. So the D stands for the digital revolution that you've gotten with, DevOps. This is again another very important thing that you've just gotten with, data visualization, digital twins, and all the other things. And this is E is where we are landing up with enterprise architecture. That is what you call web development that we've gotten with, and edge computing. That is what you call IIoT. So, you know, you have to be very professional, highly professional in any one of these particular areas of A, B, C, D, E in order to become a technology expert and get a very comfortable and decent job in any of the IT sector that you're just in with. So of which enterprise architecture, that is what you call indeed the web development, is where we are focusing in our today's webinar. So there should be a continuous learning. It's a continuous learning process, learnability, because every moment of time you see a lot of changes to the technology that you've gotten with. Every month you see a new version and new features that crops in with all these particular ones. So on that particular note, let's just begin with the enterprise architecture. That's what we call web development, full stack web development. So in order to be a full stack web developer, there are three main areas where you have to focus on with. And those three main areas where we'll be focusing with would be the experience or the channel that you've gotten with, and backend and server management, and the common aspects of the time for not only for full stack, for any type of development that we've seen. This is where I have seen and I've noticed these are the skill sets that are needed in corporate world, because I do train corporate industry, corporate sector also. So what do you have in experience? What is that experience that you've got? In full stack web development, the most important element that you've got is basically look and feel. How beauty your website looks like that you develop with, and how elegant it is, and how user interactive it is basically. So that is the first important factor. That means user has to experience look and feel with a high perfect utmost thing that we have just gotten with, and that's what you call look and feel element. And coming to the experience in channel level thing, channel level logic is very important. So when you are learning full stack web development, web app development, remember that you have got to rather learn few scriptings. That is what you call validations, lookup, dynamic data loading, and all the other things. Now, so in order to master these particular things, you need to have certain skill set. I'll be focusing it very shortly. What are the skill sets that we need to have in order to rather work on with the experience in channel one. So you need to have the basic knowledge here at the experience level about what web is and what is HTTP. So how does HTTP work? So why we need basically, because when we just do give on a browser, we see HTTP followed by some URL link. You have to understand as to what exactly HTTP is. So why we need HTTP basically, and what are HTTP requests? All these things are needed when we just do look into this experience channel. And when it comes to backend, backend plays a very important role. In full stack web development, these two are very common. So the front end and back end. So front end is where we've got look and feel elements, channel level logic, and all the other things that we've gotten with. The back end is where it is used to maintain business logic. So business logic is the actual logic that you write to integrate your database with your front end. So that's very important. I've seen many developers. So in several companies. So I've been to Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad. So all the places where I've just seen a backend developer flourishing. So if you've got a skills on backend, they flourish like anything. So these days, integrations and APIs play a very major role. All integrations in the sense like how you integrate your database with the front end part that we have gotten with. So microservices, again, another very important thing. Microservices for a highly scalable backend application in order to design and develop it. That also plays a major role in that particular thing. And least but not the last, database and persistence. Data store plays a very important role here in backend server management. So remember the front end, that is what you call experience in the channel, where you have look and feel, to design a website and web applications and all. That plays a very important thing through script. Where you can just do work with scriptings to validate, having lookups and all the other things. And backend servers, server maintenance, the server logic. So business logic, integrations, APIs, and all the other things, along with microservices and data persistence. Like say, we just do make use of MySQL, MongoDB, so web programming. So a lot of technologies are there in backend. I'll be discussing that in detail right now. And then after that, what is the most demanded technology that most of the companies are preferring to rather take in all. And apart from these front and back end skills, you have to have a very common skill. The two various common skills that you've got is, one is soft skills. The other one is design skill, because soft skill is very important, to present your project. So what your project is and how you just do present it. So communication and all the other things that plays a major role, one of the very important role in that. So that's the reason it is a very common factor that we have gotten with. And design skills. So design skills is where DevOps. People speak of DevOps these days a lot. So development and operations. So I just do throw a light at the end of this particular webinar as to what DevOps is, why DevOps is very important and needed for the order of the day that we have gotten with. Along with the common factor is you need to know what exactly the cloud is. So there are various clouds like AWS, Azure, and then followed by Google Cloud and all the other things that we've just gotten with. We need to have a very clear understanding about these particular clouds, at least to the basic thing that we've just gotten with, and the security factors are also play a very important and major role pertaining to this. So if you want to become a full stack web developer or full stack app developer, then these are the three areas that you have to focus with. So experience and channel, as I've told you, the look and feel elements, and then followed by the backend server development is where you have business logics, integrations, APIs, microservices, and all. And then common factor among all. It's not just with front end and full stack development, or as I've shown you earlier, like say app development or rather cybersecurity and all. For all the factors, the common things are soft skills and design skills that you've got, where you've got agile and cloud fundamentals and all the other things are mandatory in order to know. Now, in order to hone these skills, in order to have experience and channel, in order to work with backend server management, in order to hone these particular skills, what are the skill sets that you need to know in order to develop it? Let's just learn that. So this is a technology stack that you need to know. So in order to create in the experience side and channel side, we require HTML5, CSS3. So it's common. I'll be focusing on all those particular things also as to how you just get it with HTML5, CSS3, JavaScript, jQuery, Angular or React. So, another very popular technology front end that we have got. Of course, there are various other things. So many things are there. So, you have front end as JSP. Right, you just have got front end as the .NET. The .NET part of it, which we just do work with PHP and all. That's the backend part, of course. But there are various other things like Backbone. So we have, Vue.js is there. But among which the popular is Angular and React. I'll give you the reason also why they are very popular and why it is widely used these days. And Bootstrap, of course, least but not the last. So the experience side or the channel side, we need these technologies to hone our skills in order to master a full stack development or to become a full stack developer that we have gotten with. So what is that you're going to learn in experience? In experience, you need to have the first thing that you focus on with is the look and feel elements that we have gotten with, and the channel level logic via scripting that we have got with the validations and all the other things. So in order to do that, these are the technologies that you need to have. So HTML5, CSS3, JavaScript, jQuery, Angular or React, and Bootstrap. So most of the IT sector and companies today prefer you as an Angular front-end developer or React.js front-end developer. Among these two things also, I'll tell you which is most popularly used and why. Now, when it just comes to backend or server side, so backend or server side in the sense that you require SQL. One of the most important thing is that you need to have a knowledge of SQL database, either MySQL or PostgreSQL. If it is relational database, of course, 90% of companies are using MySQL or PostgreSQL. So that's the reason. If it is RDBMS, any one of these particular technology, knowledge of any one of these particular backends is mandatory. Along with that, there is another very important and interesting backend or server side that we all need to know. And that is what you call MongoDB, which is called NoSQL. So it's not only SQL. That's the thing that we need to know. So database point of view, one relational database, which is what you call MySQL or PostgreSQL. Of course, there are several other databases that we've got. Like say, we've got Oracle, we've got Microsoft SQL Server. So we've got IBM DB2, a lot of databases are there. But the most popular, since it's open source and its functionality that we've got, MySQL and PostgreSQL are quite popular. Number two, MongoDB. And programming, any one of these particular programmings are mandatory in order to rather work with. One is Java or Spring Boot. So Spring Boot, seen that in many firms or many IT, in the many companies of IT sector, Spring Boot is used vastly, drastically. So much of thing is there happening up around. And along with it, very popular backend today, along with Spring Boot, is Node.js. That's the reason why these two technologies are very popular. One is either mean stack, or you call another one called MERN stack. So mean stack is where you call it as Mongo, Express, Angular, and Node. And when it comes to MERN stack, Mongo, Express, and React and Node. So that's a very popular term coin that we have just gotten with in order to rather get with. And that's a backend environment that we just do work on with. And there are various other backends also like .NET. So we just do basically make use of C#.NET or any of the other .NET technology framework that we just do use and with. So there is another very important backend that we have got called Ruby. That also can be used. PHP, Ruby, and even Python also can be used as a backend. So perhaps all of you would have heard about one thing called Django. So Django, Flask, and all that can be rather represented as a backend on a server-side thing. But in common point of view, we have few things to learn with. Very important thing that we need to learn with. One is Agile. So Agile is one of the most important methodology that is being used and applied in all the IT firms. So that's the reason why knowledge of Agile is also basically mandatory in order to work with. And coming to DevOps, so Git is very important. That represents the version control. So as to how you just do in with which version you have just developed your project with, and how it needs to get deployed, and when it deployed at the production side or development environment, how it just handles. So version control is mandatory in order to know that. Along with that, there are a few other things. Testing plays a very important role or the major role. That is what we call automated testing, where some knowledge of the basic knowledge of Selenium would rather fetch you a lot, basically. And that is what we call automated testing, which we just do need. So then, of course, the cloud foundation, which is what we call Docker, Kubernetes. So all these are rather very useful and very popular in order to rather work with and master with. So of which there is one very popular to develop these particular applications. There is one very popular IDE, which is called Visual Studio Code. This is the only IDE that you can know rather than learning all the other IDEs and all. So to design HTML, or to design a code using CSS, or to design a code using JavaScript, jQuery, Angular, React, or Bootstrap, VS Code is the most suitable one that we've just gotten with, along with Node.js. For developing Spring Boot using Java, we've got Eclipse and all the other things that we just do need to. So this is the full stack technologies that we need to develop a full stack application, but of which MERN stack and mean stack plays a major role, a very popular role. As I've told you just now, MERN stack is where you call it as Mongo, MySQL, Mongo and MySQL, Express.js, React, and Node. That is called MERN stack. And when it comes to mean stack, Mongo, Express, Angular, and Node. So this again plays a very important role when we just do work with. So why? Because of its ease of use, because of its popularity, because of its simplicity in the programming of scripting. So JavaScripting is the base for all these things, or JavaScript. So the main heart, at the heart of your front end sits in JavaScript. JavaScript plays a very, very important role in designing the experience or channel side programming. That is your front end programming. So I bet if you master JavaScript, you can develop and design any of the type of applications that you've gotten with. So if you notice that if you have all these skills, or if you have either mean stack or MERN stack skill, you can comfortably design and develop a website like this. Obviously, for sure. For sure, you can just do design. So it's an integration of all the things that I'm just presenting it for you. So I've just used basically Bootstrap. I've used JavaScript. I've just used, React. and then I've just used a MongoDB as a backend indeed rather to do it. So this is how you can just do design a website when you're able to rather master all these particular technologies that we've just gotten with indeed. So you can just do look into this. So that is what I've been telling you. If in the full stack technology stack, mean stack and merge stack play a major role in working up well. So I just repeat once again, I do take for all the newcomers who have just now logged in. So I'll take up all your queries at the end of this particular webinar as a part of our full stack technology that we have got. Now, apart from this, there are a few other technologies that are highly trending and upcoming in the IT industry. So functional programming, so where you just do use Scala, Play, and all the other things. Microservices, where you use Spring Boot as at the back end. That's again another one. And scripting, this is where we focus on. So scripting is where React.js, Angular, Express.js, Node.js. So this complete stack is designed and developed using Java scripting framework that we just do work with. MongoDB, Cassandra. So we just do use all these particular things. Along with that, we have got big data and ML also, like say, Hadoop, HDFS. So this also, Kafka. So this also plays a major role in working on with, along with DevOps. In DevOps, we have got Puppet, Chef, Docker, and all the other things. But in DevOps, the most important thing is Git, Jenkins, Maven, Kubernetes, and Jira. So these play a major role. Then this will be an add-on if you hone your skills when you're just learning your mean stack or merge stack. But this webinar is mainly intended for web development. So what is web development actually? And what is that we're just going to do with that? And what are the technologies that are included in it and how? So web development is also known as basically a website development. So that refers to tasks associated with creating, building, and maintaining websites. These are the three major activities that takes place when you develop a website. One is basically create a website, build a website, and maintaining the website. That's also a very important thing that run on online browser. So all the websites that you see now are designed and developed using web development. So that's the reason why you have. Now, web development, I just do need to give you the agenda as to what web development is, why we need to use it, and what it is, and how you just do work with it. Web development is closely related to the job of defining the features of functionalities. I've shown you just now. This is the web development that we have gotten with in order to rather look into. So to be very clear about what web development is, this is the web development that we've gotten with. So you can see this is how you create. So with a full stack development, you can create such a kind of a wonderful websites that you've gotten with. So this is in development mode. This you can even go to this as a production mode also indeed rather when you just do go for. I'll give you the difference between development mode and production mode because I've seen and I've experienced all these things in the corporate world. I do train in the corporate world, and that's the reason why I've just experienced all what exactly the development mode is and production mode is and all basically. Like, that is web development for us. In short, web development is a website development for creating, manipulating, and building. So manipulating in the sense maintaining and building a website. And that is what we do basically call it as web development. Now, what is the scope of it? Now, you can just do analyze. So, web development has a huge scope in the market, huge scope than any other thing, because every company and every product needs to be needs a website. You see that in the today's world, everything that we do it either with app or with website, isn't it? So that means it's everywhere. So nothing to worry about the scope of it, and then followed by being. So, this includes basically a front-end and back-end developer. Now, when you become a web developer, suppose you just do learn any of these things like mean stack or merge stack or any other thing that we've just got. So what would be the career opportunities that you just do get in with? So because I've handled and I've seen all these streams, I have just trained all these developers, all these employers in various corporate sector. That's the reason why I have cited it like this. You can become an application developer, app developer, you call it, or website developer. Number 2 is web content manager. So where you do web crawling, web scraping. So a lot of things can happen over there if you just do, become a web content manager. Similarly, UX designer. There is a lot of demand for UX designers and research workers today in the present scenario that we need to have it. The only thing is you need to bridge the gap. Industry requires a lot of IT professionals in web development, and you need to bridge that particular gap by honing a perfect skill. By learning a very perfect way of web development and all the other things. And this UX designer, you can become a front-end, either a front-end developer or a back-end developer. I've already focused it for you as to what front-end development includes with and what back-end development includes with, basically. Right? So these would be the career opportunities. So good news that there will be a lot of career opportunities for the second quarter on web development. So, and many companies are playing a major role in offering you with the career opportunities to become any one of these particular things, like application developer, web content manager, UX designer and researcher, and front-end and back-end developer. So all these particular things are the career opportunities that you'll have. Now, let's dive into the full stack web development, what it is with. As I told you, so the first thing that you have to rather know before we learn with what full stack web development is, what is backend and what is front end. So that's where I've just started this webinar with. Front end is where you mainly focus and concentrate with the look and feel part of your web page. So how well it just looks like, how well you can feel it with, and then followed by the business. You just write the logic, the coding logic section, like using JavaScript and all. So the common factor in front end that you've got is HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, Angular, and Bootstrap. I'm going to focus on all those particular things now in a short while from now. And then Node.js, along with that Spring Boot. Of course, Spring Boot has got a lot of demand in the present scenario of the market that we've gotten with. Either you can focus on MERN stack or mean stack, along with the backend that we have just gotten with in order to rather represent with. Now, what's basically this front-end part? Front-end part mainly deals with three major things. One is the structure. The second one that we've got is the style. And the third one is the behavior. These are the three important layers of the web designing that we've gotten with. One is structure, style, and behavior, basically. These are the three things. Structure is where you build a structure of a particular web page. So how can it happen? That can happen using HTML. So HTML is the hypertext markup language. So you build the structure of the website. That's the reason I've just compared an example over there with an image. So in order to construct a building, this is in a construction phase that is not ready to occupy, remember, but it is in a construction phase. Exactly like that. Just with HTML, you can just construct a particular web page that we are just working with. But whereas when it comes to presentation is where we add a lot of glamour to it. Like say, when it comes to website, we rather align our images, we put our images where we need, and then followed by, and coding is quite simple in the front end part that I promise that if you hone properly your skills, coding is obviously quite easy in order to rather master it. So you've got at the presentation part of it, we have got CSS, which is what you call cascaded style sheets. So cascaded style sheets are where that is mainly used for presentation, in the sense that you do it with a font we work with fonts and then followed by colors and various other things that we've just gotten with. And at the end of the thing that we've got called behavior, that's where you work with the logic. Behavior means, I was telling you about that particular thing earlier. That's where you call the channel side. Channel side is where you perform validations, lookups, dynamic data loading. That is what you call channel side. And that's done with JavaScript. So knowledge of all these three things, like say HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and the one more thing to rather say, that is called Bootstrap, is mandatory when you just do work with. These three make up this particular big difference. So what is HTML? HTML creates a structure. That means it controls the layout of the content that we've got with. and provides a structure for a web page. So highly scalable web pages can be created using HTML5. At the same time, we have got again another one that is what you call CSS, which is what we call cascaded style sheet language that is used for stylizing our website. So that means you can apply styles to a web page and targets on various screen sizes and all. So primarily, CSS is used to handle look and feel that we've gotten with. And then finally, we have got again another one, and that's what we call JavaScript. So what does it do? It increases the interactivity. That's what I mean. So by performing various validations and all the other things, it increases the interactivity of the web page that we just have got, which it handles up complex functionalities, functions, features, and all the other things. So that is the reason these three are mandatory when you just do work with. Differences, it's HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Along with that, you've got again another one that is called Bootstrap, which we'll just be working with. Now, what is this HTML? Let me just do through a small insight of what HTML is and how it just works with. HTML is what you call it as hypertext markup language. That means it is a set of markup tags that we use, or it's a tag-based language. I'm sure that most of you would be knowing or would have heard about this particular thing. And most of you rather would have even learned in one or other, in wherever other. But it is a tag-based language, quite simple and quite easy to work with. With HTML, we can just create some very attractive and lucrative web pages that we just do work with. And that is the reason why we call it as HTML, which is what you call hypertext markup language. Now, then it can be assisted by style sheets, CSS in the sense. So as I've told you, what style sheet is, what is CSS basically? CSS is used for mainly styling our website. You can see there. Now, if you just would like to rather change the colors, or if you just would like to change the fonts, or if you'd like to fill the colors with the thing, that is what you can just do it dynamically. So quite comfortably with ease. And that's the reason why we do basically call it as, CSS. So that structure is being built by HTML, and then followed by CSS takes care of styling your web page by adding various fonts to it, by adding colors to it, and all the other things that we just do indeed rather work with. And that is what we call CSS as. But apart from CSS, apart from HTML, there is another very interesting front-end framework that is available, and that is what we call Bootstrap. You know what Bootstrap is? Rather, we call it as Bootstrap as advanced HTML. You know why? Because in this generation of world, we just do work in such a way that like we make use of a tablet. We make use of mobile phone. Most of our work, we do it with mobile phone, or we just do use tablet. We use basically laptop, or we use a desktop machine, or any of these particular things. I would like to have a responsive page that fits in according to my needs and requirements. Suppose I'm using a laptop, then my website should groom itself, excuse me, should groom itself in such a way that it fits in within the laptop that you just do work with. And if I just do visit the same website in my mobile phone, it should display according to the functionality and features of my mobile phone that I'm just using it with. If I'm just using my desktop machine, that's the reason why this is called as responsive website and applications can be created using Bootstrap, and highly authenticated applications. You can see here, this particular site that you see here, which I've just designed, is highly, designed and developed using Bootstrap. This is a Bootstrap-based application. In order to rather hone your skills in Bootstrap, it's not a separate language. It's an integration of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript again. Like say all the three languages only, but you integrate everything over there in that particular thing in order to rather work with. And that's Bootstrap for us. So that means it's much more advancement to HTML that you just do work with. So that means it contains HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and all. That means responsive applications can be created using Bootstrap. A responsive design can be created using Bootstrap. So what is responsive design now? Responsive design means that your design should work properly on any resolution. I've been telling you that. So the same, design should work in your laptop properly. It should work on your desktop. It should work on your tablet. It should work on your mobile phone, anything for that particular matter. And that is what you call basically responsive design as. And it's majorly concerned with the standard device resolutions, and it is highly user-friendly approach. And that is what you basically call a responsive approach as indeed to specify. That's what you call. And that's the reason why we use Bootstrap. Now, what is advantages of Bootstrap using it? Because, anyone with a basic knowledge of HTML, CSS can handle Bootstrap quite comfortably and can design web pages like this, I bet. For sure, within no time, you can create a web pages like this in an easier way. And responsive features can be done with, like say it adjusts to any mobile phone or tablets, or even to any of these particular devices, cross-compatible, we call it basically as. And then followed by, and it is browser compatible also. That means it works on any browser like Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, or anything for that particular matter. And mobile first approach. It's cross-compatible on any mobile phone that we work with. Hey, I thought of it and I've just made a presentation for you like this. I just wanted to compare what HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap is. See, just with a HTML, it's just a structural layer that you create it with. Like it's just like a human skeleton. So, used for good for nothing, just with HTML. But when you add style to it, when you add appearance to it, your look and feel changes, and this becomes HTML and CSS basically. But if you want to be more stylish in like a corporate world that you've gotten with, you add various functionalities, and that becomes a Bootstrap for you basically. Indeed, like say that's the reason why Bootstrap is a combination of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript indeed, rather put together, you do call it with. So used for front-end UI. Since the beginning of this particular webinar, I've been telling you one thing. So to design and develop a responsive web applications or websites like this, the main major technologies that you have to master is HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, and followed by JavaScript that we have gotten with. The big one, the heart of the entire framework that we have got is JavaScript. So why JavaScript? What is it actually doing? Why should I need to rather use it with? JavaScript is used to perform validations. Now, this page that I just do create here is just a static page. It's not a dynamic page, indeed, rather. So it's just a static page that we just do create it with. So I just would like to make my page dynamic. Say like, when I just do say contact, and when I add some contact information to it, that should rather straight away get stored in the database. And all these, the entire thing should get validated, and then followed by some maps should be displayed. In order to do all these dynamic functionality, dynamic activity, we need JavaScript in order to do so. And that is the reason why you need. And there are so many functionalities, so much of concepts that are being added in the recent past in JavaScript. That's the reason why JavaScripting frameworks are many. You've got Vue.js, you've got Next.js, you've got Dust.js, you've got Backbone.js, you've got React.js, you've got Angular.js. So a lot of JavaScripting frameworks are there, of which React and Angular are the two trending most popular frameworks that are in use. That is one of the major things that you've just gotten with basically indeed when you just do look into. And this is what you call client-side programming. JavaScript mainly is used at client-side programming to design or to make your page dynamic by adding efficiency to it with the help of event-driven programming, and by making a lot of validations to it and all the other things that we've got with to rather work with. So what is JavaScript indeed? It's a very simple, lightweight scripting programming language. I'm sure this also you can master. It's quite easy to rather work with. So used to make web page more interactive, more dynamic in nature. And that's the reason why we just do use JavaScript for that particular matter, and gets the information about users, calculates, and does a lot of things. And that is what you call JavaScript as. It's a web standard. That is, see, I'll tell you one small thing. In the recent, like say, a training that I've been into one of the corporate sector, they've been asking me to train on MERN stack, but the backend connectivity is .NET. In some of the firms, the front-end connectivity is MERN stack, but the backend connectivity is basically Python. See, that means they use backend as Python. They use database as MySQL, but front-end HTML, Bootstrap, React, and then followed by JavaScript or common. So that means this is a common front-end full stack technology for any backend that you see. See, you can see in my first slide when I was just showing you, when I in the first slide when I was just showing you, here backend technologies are from different technologies. You got .NET technology, you got PHP, Ruby, Python, Java, and JavaScripting. Many things are there, but front end is common to all: HTML, CSS, JavaScript, jQuery, Angular or React or Bootstrap. It is common to all the things that we just do need to rather work with and to look into. And that is the reason why we just do work with either front end and back end. So now what's back end? I've told you already, back end is mainly used to handle the business logic that we have with. The business logic used to handle business logic, and it works with the business logic that we've got. So that does routing in the sense which this is called routing. Let me show you. Like Indeed, rather, this is what you call routing in such a way that suppose I just do need to go to About Us page, it takes you to the About Us page. And when you go to services, it takes us to the services. When I take contact, it takes us to the contact. How does it route? This is called routing mechanism that is being handled by the backend. That is what you call, that is can be done with a Node.js basically. So Node.js is used to handle or mainly does with backend. Along with Node.js, you got various other technologies. Some popular technology that you got is Spring Boot of Java. So in advanced Java, we just do learn that particular thing called Spring Boot. So there's a thing that we just got. So what is Node.js now? Node.js is a highly scalable JavaScript runtime environment. So it's a JavaScript scripting runtime environment that runs over command line that we've got in order to handle business logic. See, I'll give you one small example, a very beautiful example. So in order to make your car running or in order to make your car going, what is the main important component? The engine, right? So that's one of the major things. That engine is what you call backend, because you don't see engine when you sit in the car. Engine is somewhere inside, but that is a major driving force to make your car move, isn't it? Exactly like that. You don't see the node working of Node.js in the front end. In the front end, what you see is the look and feel. Okay, so just like how you see a car, when you see a car, a high-end Porsche car, you feel, oh, this car's look and feel is terrific. This car's look and feel is fantastic. We feel like that, right? But actually, when it just comes to, you need to figure out how it's working for us, the working part of it is. So that is what you call backend. So at backend, you have engine for a car. Exactly the same engine is there in order to make your backend work with for your websites. And that backend is either Node.js or Spring Boot that you work with. So that is the thing that we need to rather look into. But all the business logic that we handle, all the business logic that we write must be persistent. So what is persistent? Persistent means that you need to save it into the data in order to make it as a database and all. For that, we make use of MongoDB. That is what you call NoSQL technique. That is what you call MongoDB as. So why Mongo? What is NoSQL? Because, when we don't know that particular thing, we simply call it as NoSQL. NoSQL stands for not only SQL. That is what you call NoSQL as, where we just do use MongoDB. There are several other backend things also, like Cassandra is there. A lot of things are there, indeed, rather, to represent well. So we got MongoDB as one of the very powerful and very popular database persistence that we've gotten with. So actually, when it just comes to databases are classified like this. RDBMS, that is called OLTP, real-time databases, where you make use of Oracle, MySQL, MS SQL Server, and DB2. You know why they're used? They're all structured. Structured in the sense you got a data type and you got basically a column to maintain with. We have rows and we maintain it in the form of a tables. All these things are organized and structured. And that's the reason why you do basically call it as RDBMS or OLTP. But whereas when it comes to our website, it's not that we give only a few amounts of data. There is a huge volumes of data that we store in web, and that is what you call unstructured data, and all the things need to be stored. See, in a social networking site, what is that we do? We feed in several posts. So in the posts that we just do, say, we store unstructured data. We post a video, we post an audio, we post a lot of things, right? All those things are unstructured data that can be stored in NoSQL. Rather, you call it as NoSQL or new SQL or big data. For that, in the popular database backends that we use is MongoDB. Or rather, you have various other things also like HBase, Cassandra, CouchDB. A lot of databases are there. But the popular thing is MongoDB that we need to rather represent with. That's the thing that we just do use it with. So OLTP databases like Oracle and all there, you see in companies what they do is, say, they use for real in the real-time scenarios, if it is for ATM transactions or retail transactions and simple online sales transactions and all, they basically make use of OLTP, real-time databases that we do use it with. Now, where is it that you just do use OLAP? OLAP is SAP, Nexera, and then followed by Oracle Express, like that particular thing that we need to use it with. But when you're handling big data that comes across on a big, from the website that we just have got, see, either OLTP or OLAP doesn't handle that particular thing. For that, we require NoSQL databases, and that's where our MongoDB comes into. So what is NoSQL? NoSQL is next generation databases that is needed in order to know, and it is open source. That's the reason why it's very popular. And then followed by, it's not just SQL, it's more than that we just do work with. And it's very easy to use. You can just do see. Highly scalable, very easy to use, schema free, and can handle and maintain huge volumes of data. It's not just that it just handles only a little of huge volumes of data, and simple to learn. That's the reason why learning database is also very useful and very important. But of which one of the most important concept that we've got is the React.js. That is your front-end UI, in the front-end UI. So when you've got a lot of front-end frameworks, like say you've got React, I've told you, we have got Angular, we have got, there are various other front-end frameworks, Vue.js is there, Next.js is there. But why React? React is a very popular front-end framework designed and developed by Facebook. So Jordan Walk has designed it. So when it is Facebook, now it is extended to our daily, whatever the thing that we use, you are using React indirectly. You know what it is? The WhatsApp that you use and the Instagram that you use uses React.js. So just think of it, how much of data is being transferred through WhatsApp, how much of data that we transfer using, or how much of postings that we do, news feeds that we do using React.js that we've got. One of the most popular and most syllable front-end framework that we call it as React.js. So React, includes with JSX elements that we do basically call it. So what are the prerequisites in order to learn React.js that we've gotten with? Knowledge of HTML, knowledge of CSS and JavaScript, and a partial, I've already told you, a common fact of Git is needed in order to work with. So, and Visual Studio Code. These are certain simple prerequisites that we need to learn in order to work with React.js that we've gotten with. But what is React indeed, rather? What's this particular React doing it for us? React is an open source front-end framework that we use it with. So it's an open front-end framework, and moreover, open source, developed by Facebook. I've told you already, it's developed by Facebook by Jordan Walk. What does React do? React is the most popular element that you've got in React is JSX. That is called JavaScript XML or JavaScript extension. We call it basically. And another one is Virtual DOM. So Virtual DOM is one of the very famous thing that we just do use in our React. Now, these are the features that you can see over here using React. React, the famous functionalities and the features that you've got is JSX number one, Virtual DOM, server-side rendering, a lot of things that we've gotten with, and React is used for testability and testing. one-way binding, lot of things are there, and these are the features. Now, what is JSX indeed? JSX, why it is very popular when you have various other technologies stacked in the front end? So because one reason is JSX. JSX allows HTML and JavaScript to be combined in one file, and it just returns that particular thing. That's the reason why you call React as a popular thing. You can see here, React is based on purely component-based development. React and even Angular also. Angular, all these technologies are mainly based on component-based development that we work with. That means components are reusable blocks of code that contains UI and logic in order to rather represent well. Indeed, right? So, and moreover, another very important thing that you got with React is that React strictly adheres to MVC framework, or rather model view controller architecture framework that we just do get it with. That means it controls the derived data with multiple stores and central stores of all the things that we just do need to rather look into. See, while mastering React, you all have to master these things. You know what components are, and states and properties are, keys, debugging, event handling, and these days Redux. So a lot of things, other things that we've got. So these are certain very important concepts that we have to rather focus on with in order to, when you just do work with the React. So this entire concept that we have just seen, this entire concept that we have studied is what you basically call it as a full stack web developer, or a full stack web development that we just do get it with. Again, getting back. So the channels of the experience that we've got us with, the look and feel that we've gotten with, and the backend deals with the business logic, integrations, APIs. Learning of APIs is mandatory in order to rather work with. And this is a very important thing that you all need to know indeed when you just do work with. And these skills, apart from these particular skills, the common skills that we've just got is basically the design skills, where you just do go for DevOps, cloud found fundamentals, as I've just told you. Like, you know, these are the things that are needed. This entire thing rather gives you a full stack framework or full stack architecture. You know, we at EdiGlobe, or rather highly committed to rather give you an at most professional training to learn with what full stack architecture is and how full stack basically indeed rather goes on well. So this, with this particular webinar, you just will have just an insight of an overview of what exactly full stack rather technologies are and what they are and how you just do work with. In order to dive into deeper of what HTML is and what CSS is, and in order to do some hands-on coding and in order to work with that, you know, I'll just show you another example also. You know, this is one simple project that I just will have handled in order to rather work with, and this is being dealt with React.js. Right? You can see you've got a database called MySQL, where I'm just fetching the rows from the database to your front end, basically like this. You know, that's the front end system that we've just gotten with. And this is what you do. This is what I've just done using our React.js that we need to rather work with. So that's how I have just designed. That's how I've just worked on with that particular React that we need to rather represent it with in order to rather use this particular React.js to work with. So, right, basically, this entire stack is what you basically call it as full stack development or full stack framework that we just do need to rather work with. I guess and I hope for all of you who are there, who have attended this particular webinar, at least would have got a very good idea about what full stack is and why we need to rather learn full stack. Of course, when industry needs any one of these A, B, C, D, E is where we have just focused on with today. That is enterprise architecture, where we have designed and developed our web applications and all the other things. See, the last 5 to 10 minutes, I'm going to take up any of the queries that you've just gotten with for the calls that you just do need to rather look in with. And another one that we have is everything that we that I've shown you here is being trained at EdiGlobe. So EdiGlobe rather goes with all these particular ones. So the app development, or rather the big data, or the blockchain that we have gotten with, the cloud securities, the cloud, say AWS, we are committed to rather give you the best of the best trainings for all these particular things that we've gotten with. Irrespective, see, one thing that factors that matters a lot is that particular thing is basically that your skills that you develop with. It's not mainly major thing that you've got. See, many in the many places where I just do go for, many people ask me one thing like, say, is it that we need a qualification or should we need to have some expertise knowledge and all? No, it's all your commitment, it's all your skills that needs to make you the best of the best developer that you've gotten with. We do it basically indeed rather to do that particular thing. Prashanti asks me how many days it takes for me to learn React.js. Prashanti, normally the general part of thing that we need to have is, to learn the entire full stack that you have here, said in a normal term, in a normal scenario that we just have got. If you're a slow learner, it depends upon the learning, credentials that we've gotten with, or the learning potentials that we've got with. So if you're a normal slow learner or a normal or a basic beginner, it might even take 90 full days for you. But if you're a fast learner, if you can pick up a lot, you can just do it at a high speed of a high pace of time. So it all depends upon your learning mode or the learning functionalities that we've gotten with Prashanti. So nice that you've asked me that. See, others also can quite comfortably ask me any of the queries that you just would like to have it with. You can even unmute and you can ask me any of the questions, or you can even type in the chat box so that I can take up any of your call that we've got. Regarding administration part of it, if you have any queries, my team will take that particular call. But technically, I am there to rather guide you with any of these, any of the doubts or the queries that you've just gotten with indeed. And I sincerely request you to kindly fill in the feedback form that you've been got onto the in the chat box. Please do that particular thing and feel free to rather take up that. I feel and I guess that this particular webinar would have been quite useful for you, basically, so that you get an insight idea about it. Any call that you've gotten with, then I'll just take up. See, Ananda Bharadwaj is asking me one question, one query. Sir, when is ASP.NET used? Yeah, I'll even come to your question also, Prashanti. Yeah, Shreya, I'll just come to your call. First, let me answer Ananda Bharadwaj. Ananda Bharadwaj says, so when is ASP.NET used? ASP.NET is a .NET technology. I've told you that you've got several backend technologies and all the other things. So when you're working with .NET, you basically make use of ASP.NET. So as a backend, if you're using PHP, you use PHP as a backend. If you're using Java, you use Spring Boot as a backend. So it's used basically to design and just like our backend technologies, we just do basically make use of ASP.NET. So if you're into purely Microsoft technology, so the front end would be HTML, JavaScript, and then followed by Bootstrap and followed by jQuery. That is the front end. And at the back end, you learn ASP.NET, ADO.NET, C#.NET, and then followed by microservices. So that is what you call that is what you have, Ananda Bharadwaj. I guess I've clarified your question. Prashanti asks me one query over here. What are the best resources to learn and complete JavaScript? There are several websites of which I feel as a beginner for you guys, W3 resource would be one of the best one. You have MDN resources over there. You can just go to those particular resources to learn one of the best thing that we have just gotten with. Okay, Prashanti, right? I guess I've answered your query also. Shreya is asking me another question over here. He said, front end is best or back end, and which one has more scope? Yeah, this is a very typical question, Shreya. Like say, both are mandatory and both are required. Why? Because front end is used for designing your page and back end is used to handle your web page and all. Both are very much importantly needed. But if you have passion to rather learn and create a web development and work with app development and all, front end React is one of the best possible choices to rather go with. And along with that, you need some backend compatibility also, to rather store the data, to handle business logic and all. For that, we just do basically make use of React. Right, Shreya? I guess I've clarified all the queries that is there in the chat box. Any other queries also, I'm ready to take up with a call, right? I feel that this webinar would have been useful for you to understand what the exact scope is and all. Any more questions from you guys? Any one of you? taking up these particular things. Yeah. Kamal is asking me one question: Spring Boot or .NET Framework? Which should we learn? What should we learn, sir? Yeah, there are a lot of projects that are going on with Spring Boot, Kamal. So I sincerely recommend you to go with the Spring Boot part of it. I mean, I don't mean to say .NET is being undermined, but there are a lot of projects that are being handled in Spring Boot these days rather than with the .NET. Provided you're good in core Java, you need to, the skills that you need is you need to have a very strong knowledge on core Java. Then I'm sure that Spring Boot would be quite easy for you to learn with. Right, Kamal? And Shrenika is asking me another question. What is the interview process for web development? Yeah, it's a good question, Shrenika, because I've been involved in several interview processes also. Basically, what they do is they first test you in JavaScript. That is one of the most important thing that they rather ask you with. So focus more on JavaScript when you're just working on with front end, and when you're working with back end, just do focus on Node.js if it is your JavaScripting framework, and a Java technology also basically is preferred. For that, you need to go with Spring Boot. So that is what you have, that particular thing, Shrenika. Sinika, I just have answered your query too. So, Kamal is asking another query. What he's saying is, sir, what about Selenium? Yeah, Selenium is one of the beautiful testing tool that is for or used for automation. So in order to work on that, you either need to work with Java or Python, basically in order to develop it. So if you want to take up your career as a tester, software tester, so QA also has got a lot of demand in IT industry. Obviously, you need to be very choosy in choosing QA companies. I've been training even QA companies also recently in the recent past. So that's the reason Selenium is also good to go with if you are choosing your career to become a tester. That's what I just do say. And now there is another question from Shreya. So what are the best projects for front-end developer? Yeah, front-end developer, you know, as a beginner, I recommend you to rather go with either some simple projects of banking and all the other things and all the other concepts that you've got with basically when you just do use a front-end development part of it that we need to rather go with. And now there is another question that Shiva is asking me, sir, will AI will affect the web developers? AI will not affect web developers. In fact, AI is implemented in web development. Remember, this is one of the very interesting questions that I always take wherever I just do present webinars, wherever I just do use this particular thing. It will not affect, obviously. So we have a wrong notion that AI will come and eat up the market. It's not of that particular thing. Another thing I want to tell you all is here, many queries that they're coming up for me is that say, sir, now software is in recession and when will the software be okay? And now there isn't any jobs and all. See, because I've been involved with many of the projects. See, there is no drench for projects at all. Software industry is quite comfortably flourishing. It was because of the some hasty decisions taken by several companies during COVID. So, like say, hasty decisions and unforeseen errors done by several MNCs during COVID time. So now there is a little bit recession even in US and in Bangalore and in other places across the country. But for sure, I'll 100% give you in such a way that by the first quarter, end of the first quarter, that is might be with by the end of March, again, there is a lot of recruitment happening. There is a lot of happening in web development and all the other things. So obviously, don't worry about your recruitment process and don't worry about the AI also. AI is implemented in web development. So absolutely, there is no way that we are so need to get updated with yourself with AI and all. That's the thing that we need to rather look at. And there is another question from Sinika. Sinika says, is C programming important for web development interview? Oh, yeah, C is a basic thing that we just do work with. See, C is used to test and hone your basic programming skills, whether your logical skills are good enough in and your things are good enough in. I don't think so that for web development interview, C programming would be quite useful, but C programming is useful for testing your logical skills. That's what I just would like to rather focus on with, right? So I hope I've answered. I've taken all the queries, and there is another query. Gunasai is asking me, sir, which JavaScript framework is best for full stack development and which is in demand? React. Ultimately, obvious choice is React.js. Number one, React.js. Number two, AngularJS. And then only the other JavaScripting frameworks like Vue.js and all, because it all depends upon the projects that you work with and use it with. That's the reason why React is one of the best front-end frameworks that you've gotten with to maintain that. React is JavaScript framework, and that's the reason why you can just go with, right? Yeah. Kamal is asking me another one. So should we learn AI tools? Actually, we are getting into ads about AI tools will not use, then get fired and all. So, forget about getting fired and all the other things, but learning AI tools would rather fetch you to enhance your website skills and web development skills, obviously. So that's the reason why definitely it would be an added advantage for you in order to rather go for. Yeah, thank you, Gunasai. Yeah, and I've taken all the calls, I guess. And there is another question from Shiva. Shiva says, sir, I have basic knowledge in HTML, CSS, C, Java, Python. Can I learn JS framework, that is React, in 1 month? Why not? Certainly. That is what I mean to say, Shiva. You can comfortably learn within a month and go for that particular one. That's a nice question that you've asked, Shiva. And there is another one. Pratik is asking me, what is the scope of full stack developer in India? An annual package will get. Wherever I go, to whatever the corporate world that I go, the average annual package would range from 4 to 8 lakhs per annum. Remember, Pratik, this is very important because I have trained freshers, I have trained laterals in so many MNCs. So many MNCs in Chennai and Bangalore. I'd been last week also. So obviously what I see there is the annual package that they have is that ranges from 4 to 8 lakhs with a basic thing. If you're a basic fresher and a non-IT graduate. So if you're an IT graduate, then it will be more, might be around 10 or 12, even that can happen basically. And the scope for web developer is beautiful. Don't worry about it. In the second quarter, you're going to see a lot of recruitments happening for a web developer in India, obviously. Okay, right? Pratik, I guess I've answered your question. And Sahana is asking me, can we use Python for web development? Why not? Python has got a lot of web development frameworks. We have got Django. We have got Flask as a microservice that we have gotten with, and we have got Cake Python. A lot of things are there even for Python for web development also. But the common factor is HTML, CSS, JavaScript. All these are the common factors. But the backend, you learn Django as a backend developer for Python that we have gotten with. And remember, all these things that I'm telling you here is being dealt at Eddie Globe. You can just definitely get that particular thing basically, wherein you just do work with. So, Gunasai is asking me another question. Sir, is it worth learning Swift programming? Why not? Swift is used for, of course, that is if you're passionate to become an iOS developer or rather Apple developer, then obviously Swift would be 100% preferable in order to rather go with. Now, Pratik is asking me another question. To become a tester, Python, Selenium, white box and black box testing is enough. Yeah. See, rather than answering this question, I'll just tell, to become a good, efficient tester, you should first become a manual tester. So there you need to learn what black box testing is, what white box testing is, and several other types of testings and all, and how testing happens. That you need to become that particular thing in order to rather work with. So of course, Python and Selenium is a part of Selenium thing that we have got, and Selenium can be designed and developed using Java also. So yes, to become a tester, first you need a manual tester. To become a manual tester, along with that, you need to learn Zira. There is another thing called Zira. So that you need to learn, and then followed by the automation part of it. In automation, Selenium plays a major role where you got Python, Java, and all the other things that happens up there. Clear, Pratik? I guess I've answered your. Kamal says, Python or Java, which one is better? This is a very trickish question to answer. So I say both, because, Java is happening really for a backend. So one of the main heart of Java would be Spring Boot and followed by, JSF and all the other things that we have gotten with. And Python, of course, is also for backend. Well, it will be an added advantage if you learn both the technologies, basically. So I don't rather rate either Python or Java. No, both the things have the skills of both the technologies. That would be an added advantage for you in order to rather go with Kamal. Fine. And what is the most demanding language in today's era? I've answered this, Pratik. Once again, I just do. Let me answer this. The most demanding language that we have got, rather than calling it as language, we let us call it as framework. The most demanding full stack framework that we have got in our today is full stack. Obviously, in that React. That is what you call MERN stack that we've gotten with, and then we do have that particular one, right, Pratik? And I again sincerely request you to fill in the feedback form. It has not been filled in. Kindly do that. It's there available in the chat box, right? And we at EduGlobe go with all these technologies which you have asked me as a part of a query. We go with artificial intelligence, we go with data science, we go with big data, we go with rather full stack web development, we go with a lot of all the things that we have got that's happening in IT industry today. So we give you an absolute ultimate quality of the thing that we just do rather represent it with. Yeah, Gunasai, sir, in Swift, we what all to learn to get a job in Apple. See, it's not just an Apple. You can just do get into several companies that uses Swift and other things that just do. See, yeah, learning Swift doesn't fetch you job only in Apple, right? So in Swift, the thing is that you need to learn Objective-C. So you need to learn Swift, okay? Objective-C is one of the most important thing in order to master Swift. Thereby, you can land up a job in any of the companies that uses Swift and Objective-C and all the other things. Of course, I wish you that you even get a job even in Apple also. That's very nice. Right. So, Pratik, sir, what is your salary? I'm a freelancer. I'm a freelancer. I go across several companies and all. I don't think so, right? Say it's advisable to rather get into those particular things over here, rather. That's nice that even you've given an emoji of a laughing thing. Of course, you can guess by my experience and the way how I've just given you the webinar, you can guess around what would be my rather annual package when I just do go for as a freelancer and all. Fine. Okay. Yeah, Kamal. Anything that you wanted to ask me rather? Sir, how can we gather clients in freelancing? Oh, that's again another thing. See, in freelancing, the thing is that first thing you need to have is in-depth, adept knowledge of the subject that you've gotten with. So when you've got an adept knowledge of the subject, then obviously clients will come to you. Rather, you don't have to rather go to gather the clients and all the other things, right? So that's the reason why many corporate companies come to me rather to train in with all these particular full stack technologies that we've gotten with. Right, Shiva? Well, that's what we have, I guess. There is another question. Let me take this query also. Kamal says front-end developer do a lot of efforts while back-end doesn't. Hey, who said? Back-end developers also does have a lot of things. They have API calls. They have basically a lot of things. They need to go with RESTful APIs. There is a very important thing. All those things are done by backends also. They even do that. So front-end and backend, both the things do that particular thing. Both have got equal scope and equal growth. That's what we do have it with. Well, I guess I've answered all your queries. I feel that this webinar was quite, informative for you. And I'm very happy that there were many queries that have been asked by all of you. I wish you all good luck. And yeah, there is the final call. Let me take from Kamal. Kamal says, sir, actually backend is used to link database. Is there any other than this? Yes, obviously. I've told you, I've shown you, it is used for routing. It is used for handling API calls. It is used for doing everything basically in order to rather work on web, right? So that's what you do use backend for, not just for handling databases and all. So front end and backend are same sides of the same coin. They exist in pairs. Obviously, Pratik, you're absolutely right. Okay, so fill in the form again. You have in the chat box. Kindly do that. That will be a great boosting for us, basically, in order to hone our skills and all. I feel, yeah, thank you, Sinika. I feel that all of you have enjoyed today's webinar, Sunday's webinar. Have a nice lunch and have a nice time. And I wish you a very good luck for you all in your near future endeavors. Thank you. Thanks a lot.